Welcome to the e-commerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. The e-commerce podcast is all about helping you deliver e-commerce wow. Oh, yes, it is. And to help us do just that, today I am chatting with my very special guest, Scott Overbeck from Seacoast Consulting Group. And we are going to get into what a customer success roadmap looks like. We're going to get into monetizing subscriber lists. It's all going on today, so you're not going to want to go anywhere. You want to grab your pens, grab your bits of paper, because, it's good to be old school every now and again to make your notes. Now, if you are new to the e-commerce podcast, a very warm welcome to you. Glad you're here. Hope you like the show. Hope you enjoy what's going on. Of course, any questions you want to know more about the show, find out all the past episodes and all that sort of stuff, see who we've had on. You can find all kinds of weird and wonderful information on the website, ecommercepodcast.net. That's all one word, ecommercepodcast.net. It's all there. So go ahead, check it out. It'd be great to see you, great to meet you. Reach out to me at Matt Edmondson on social media or on LinkedIn. Always love to hear from you. Always, always, always. And if you've got any thoughts, any comments about the show, let us know those as well, especially if you're a seasoned guest. A seasoned listener, rather, should I say. Definitely want your feedback. I've said this before on a couple of shows. Just to reiterate, we are starting to add a new pillar of content to the podcast, which is where we interview e-commerce founders. So people that are in the trenches doing e-commerce businesses. So as you know, if you've been a regular listener, all of the other hundreds of shows we've done, we've focused on the experts, just like Scott. An expert in his field. We're going to dig into what he knows and see how it can help us grow our own online business. But we also want to interview you guys that are creating your own online businesses. And if you're willing to come onto the show, share your stories, share your insights, your challenges, things you've learned, stuff that's going to help us, then we would love to hear from you. I'm not guaranteeing you'll be on the show. Just want to caveat that. But we would genuinely love to hear from you as we're going to start featuring more and more founders. If you want to know more about that, if you want to just reach out to us, just go to the ecommercepodcast.net website. There's an apply page on there. You don't have to fill out every form field, but just get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see what we can do. There you go. Right. Now, let's talk about today's guest. Scott has turbocharged businesses across not just one, not just two, but 4 continents, boosting growth, revenue, and efficiency after learning the secrets of the world's biggest companies. That sounds ominous, doesn't it? Learning the secrets of the world's biggest companies. He's now sharing the magic with us small to medium-sized businesses. Ready for success? Well, let's take a leaf out of Scott's playbook, shall we? Scott, welcome to the show, man. Great to have you. How are you doing?
Glad to be here. I'm doing well, thanks.
Good, man. Good. Now, whereabouts in the world are you? Because it's definitely brighter where you are than where I am.
It's definitely brighter. So it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I am on the seacoast of New Hampshire, about an hour north of Boston.
Nice. Beautiful part of the world.
It is. It's been quite hot lately, but we're enjoying it.
Well, at least it's been hot for somebody.
Right.
At the time of recording, it's summertime here in the UK. Not that you would know. No one's told the weather yet that it's summer. The weather's got to catch up with itself a little bit, but then that's the joy of living in England, I feel. The joy of living in England. So tell us, Scott, a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I am the founder and principal of Seacoast Consulting Group, as you mentioned. Our big claim to fame is we work with small to medium-sized businesses, and we help them to grow their revenues and ultimately their profits. So,
and how did you get into that?
Yeah, so you had mentioned that I worked for some very large companies. I traveled the world consulting with a lot of different companies, and primarily in banking, finance, and fintech, financial technology. So I really had an opportunity to see how these big boys do business and the different strategies that they leverage. And what I really learned is that they're A, quite successful and good at what they do, and B, that a lot of SMBs just don't leverage a lot of these tools the way they could and the way they should. So I saw an opportunity, and I decided to take the leap from corporate. I spent about 30 years in big corporate, traveling, doing all kinds of stuff, and decided to hang my own shingle and teach these small to medium sized businesses how the big boys do it.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's cool, man. I remember the first time I did my first ever consulting gig. And it scared the life out of me in so many ways, because it's like, I know it works. I know what I think works in my own companies because, I don't know how many tens of millions of pounds worth of product we'd sold at this point, but a lot. But then when you're doing it for somebody else, there's always that sort of nerve wracking thing. And then once you've done it a couple of times, you sort of go, yes, there seems to be some principles that do actually work across the different companies here.
Right.
I might be onto something. So I'm kind of curious, what were some of those moments for you? What were some of those things that you've learned from the big businesses that we can apply to our e-com businesses?
Yeah, well, the area that I lean into, and I would say probably the biggest opportunity area that I've seen in the years that I spent with big corporate is the way that businesses can leverage strategic alliances.
Okay.
And I'll just define what that is. I think a lot of people have probably heard of it. They think they might know what it is. They might be right, they might be wrong, but
Yeah.
put simply, it's just an arrangement of mutual benefit between two or more businesses who have complementary resources. And those resources can be a lot of different things. They can be products, they can be services, they can be operational assets, they can be customer databases. And it really takes somebody who's kind of worked with these things over time to be able to kind of go in and identify the opportunity areas and then leverage and ultimately monetize them.
Wow. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, with strategic alliances that it's a very fancy sounding phrase.
Yes.
But it's. I was talking to a lady the other day. She owns an agency called Lime. Give them a bit of a shout out. I can't remember the rest of the name. It will come back to me in a second. Anyway, she was lovely, and they basically, I think they work with bigger companies, but they were behind like a well-known movie appearing on a well-known brand of potato chips. And so, 150 bags of, we would call them crisps, Scott, but 150 bags of these things would be 150 million of these bags would be made, all promoting the movie. And these were those sort of strategic alliances. It worked well for the movie company because they got in front of 150 million people. Sure. It works well for the crisp company because, it just makes their crisp packet a little bit different and it'll appeal to the kids or whatever because the Star Wars character is on the front. So I can see that, I can see it all the time. I suppose once I saw that, I thought, yeah, that's a strategic alliance. I can see the big companies doing this. How does that translate then for smaller businesses? What kind of ways would that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you nailed it. I mean, there's a lot of strategic alliances that people have benefited from and have experienced with some of the bigger companies. I'll just add a few before I answer your question. You've got like McDonald's and Coke. That's probably the most notorious one out there. McDonald's with their Happy Meal product, where they have these little trinket toys in there, Star Wars and Lego and so forth, and Target and Starbucks and Uber and Spotify. Like these are all strategic alliances that have been put together. In terms of, to answer your question, how the smaller and medium-sized businesses will benefit. We've taken a little different approach, the same mechanics, but a little different way of attacking it. And what we lean into is what we call the customer journey roadmap or the customer success roadmap. When you think about any particular small or medium-sized business, they're offering a product or a service and maybe a few products and a few services, with the idea that the customers are going to be interested in them. And if all goes well, they are. Uh, when you take a look at the roadmap that our customer is on, what we typically will find out is that this particular company is really only offering maybe 10% of what the customer ultimately wants slash needs on that roadmap.
Right.
So, they have a particular goal. Let's just say, real simply, that it's a weight loss goal. So they go and they buy a weight loss supplement from a company. You provide that supplement, they keep coming back for it. What else are they interested in? That's probably not the only thing. So we take a look at what that customer would be interested in before they buy, during that buying process, and also after. And we say, what other products and services are there that they are going elsewhere to buy? And then we say, well, these complementary products and services, we can create strategic alliances where there are now revenue shares. So what we can do is we can now introduce those products and services to our subscriber list, to the people that really trust us the most. We're adding value because they're not having to go out and research and find these products.
Yeah.
They're already spending their money on it. We're making it easy for them. And oh, by the way, we're benefiting as well because we're getting some very nice revenue share in the process.
Yeah. That's really cool. But if I may, it sounds oversimplistic. I can just hear the skeptics going out. Well, surely it doesn't work like that, because it does. I mean, this is the beauty of these frameworks, is you can actually simplify them down to the basic components, isn't it? But let's think of an example then, if we can. So I'm going to pick. What can I pick? Well, let me pick this. So again, sorry, listeners, if you get bored with this example. I have here a supplement brand, which I'm involved with. So This is an omega-3 capsule. Now, the company is called Vegetology. It makes various different supplements, but they're all vegan certified supplements. So the niche was very much, how do you create omega-3 when it's not fish oil in an effective, safe dose for the vegan market? And so that all got figured out by the scientists at Vegetology, and they've done that. They've sort of cracked that. So I have that product. How would I approach this customer success roadmap?
Yeah, so I mean, I would look at that and I would say, well, if you're spending money on that, you're probably interested in better health. Mm-hmm. What does that entail? You say, well, potentially weight loss, eating right. Maybe you need a motivational course to stay on track. It could be other supplements that we would leverage. Maybe some exercise equipment, some clothing, right? And we can just keep going on and on. Now, if we go down the vegan path, I don't know that path, so I'd have to spend some time researching it. But I'd say, well, what other things would a vegan be interested in? Are there food products that we could introduce to them that are kind of approved in the vegan world? Who knows? Maybe even some T-shirts if you're loud and proud about being a vegan, right? We can introduce those types of things.
Yeah.
So, some of them just kind of come to mind. Some of them you need to research. We have ways of obviously doing the research. One of the best ways that we found, we call this a sideways survey, which is essentially just asking your customers, what types of products have you bought in the last 6 months? What types of products are you considering buying in the next 6 months? The difference is that we don't put them through a Survey Monkey or some other online thing and ask them 37 questions and have them fill out a third of the way through, right? It's literally a email that asks them 1 to 3 questions, and they respond back in the email. So it's 100% coming from the customer, because you say, well, if that's your niche and you're getting this information from your customer, my guess is that they're not the only person that's interested in product A. So why don't we create an alliance with product A? Let's see how it goes.
That's
Because
really cool.
there's really very little downside. Like if you position it right, if you have that relationship with your customers and you position it right, and you're making a really strong attempt to offer them something that they would be interested in, like they're not gonna leave in a huff and never do business with you. And we're not talking about like pummeling them with offer after offer. Like typically, what we would look to do is create 3 or 4 different alliances of these complementary products and services and offer them on a rotational basis. So let's say if we did 4 every 3 months, we're offering the same one, because keep in mind this is going to the subscriber list, not just the people that have purchased, right? So people who are maybe tire kicking to purchase your actual product. Also, it's capturing people that have kind of come into the funnel more recently. And as we know, people don't look at their email all the time, right? So it's not like be like, oh, this company sent me this exact same email 90 days ago. I can't believe it. I'm leaving. I'm unsubscribing. Like, you're not going to see that happen. But what we'll do is we'll monitor the success of those profits. And if they start to wane, then we'll say, hey, okay, so maybe we want to pop in a different product or service.
Yeah.
But the idea is that we're putting these things in place, and these things are just running. They're running in perpetuity. There's no reason like it's a one and done type of thing. Like it's a very, very substantial additional revenue stream with
Fantastic.
very little effort on the part of the company that's providing the distribution.
So let's say then, going back to my omega-3, I've emailed out, 10,000 people, and I've got a few hundred responses back. I like the idea of, actually, Scott, I like the idea of emailing as opposed to having them fill out a survey and asking them to respond to the email. I'm guessing you're doing that for a very strategic, thought through reason rather than, I just can't be bothered to create a survey monkey form.
Yeah, well, it's really just to sort of kind of lock in the importance of that relationship. So it's like, well, I'm not just going to look at a survey monkey report and look at the feedback. Like I'm literally going to be getting that response from a customer, and it's going to go to, we'll say, maybe it's the president, maybe it's the owner, whatever the figurehead is. Now, in actuality, it's me that's reviewing those things, but it's coming from a person who's built that relationship.
Yeah.
And is it more work? Absolutely. But you say, I could have an outside consulting company go in and survey my people, my customers, but how successful are they going to be? Because they're going to say, well, here's what I think that I'm going to buy, but we're more interested in what did you actually buy? What did you pull your credit card out and type in the numbers and buy? That's valuable information, and that's worth a little extra effort in my mind to be able to kind of aggregate that.
Yeah. And it's super, and I like it because it's simple. They can respond straight away. They don't have to go to a new web page. They can just write one product. They could write 20. They're going to engage as much or as little as they like, aren't they? So yeah. I'm going to send out my email to the customer database asking, just super curious, what other products have you purchased in the last 6 months? And what are some of the products you're thinking about purchasing in the next 6 months? Are the questions that open-ended, or am I being a bit more specific and saying, hey, listen, I'm curious to know what products like this you have purchased in the last 6 months, or am I just letting them make the association?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, because really what we're trying to do is identify for the customer that we recognize that we're kind of one stop along this journey. So, if let's say in the case of the supplement Like if we're a supplement company, we say, we're so thankful that you're our customer. We're trying to evaluate, the other things that we could potentially make
Mm,
available, or whatever. You fill in the blank. Like,
mm,
do you want to be open about the fact of, hey, we're trying to create some relationships with other companies, that you
mm,
might be interested in, or I mean, conceivably, if you got enough of a response for one particular thing, maybe that's cause for saying, hey, maybe I should be manufacturing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe I create a relationship with a manufacturer to do it and I
Hmm.
white label it. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you could go
Hmm.
about it other than just creating that relationship. But at the end of the day, like, what you're trying to do is you're trying to add value to your existing customers, and give them what they're already going to be buying.
Hmm. Yeah. No, okay. So I send that email out. I get all my responses, which is, wonderful. And I figure out 3 or 4 different products. So let's say, for the sake of argument, I'm just going to pick a random one. Is a bamboo toothbrush, right? Because that seems to sort of connect with that audience a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
I can go to a company that sells bamboo toothbrushes. Am I putting that bamboo toothbrush on my site as a product? Am I doing that bamboo toothbrush as its own landing page? Am I sending people to the bamboo toothbrush website on an affiliate link? Am I doing all of the above? Sorry to get hyper practical. I'm just wondering how you've seen this sort of work well.
Yeah, the quick and easy answer is it depends. But in general, what we're doing is we're creating a licensing relationship with
Hmm.
between the companies. So, Bamboo Toothbrush Company is having the email list from the bigger company made available to market this bamboo toothbrush. So I'll call it company ABC is getting the copy that converts for this bamboo toothbrush, right? That's going to be popped into the email system and sent
Hmm.
out to the customers. That's going to go to bambootoothbrush.com, right? Whether it's a specific landing page, whether there's an affiliate link, those are all kind of details that get decided. But at the
Mm.
end of the day, all those ultimate sales that come from that will be recognized to go to company ABC, and then they're going to get a check for doing very little
Hmm.
work.
Yeah. No, fair play. Fair play. I get it. I understand it now. Um, and am I doing this for my I guess I'm doing it just for customers in general. I'm not just focusing on one product, am I? I'm not focusing like a hero product. And customers that say buy the hero product. I'm just asking all of my customers from various different categories of customer, I assume.
Yeah, I would say so. And one of the things you had mentioned about making it available on your website, there's something that we offer. It's called a resource center, and it's essentially a page on company ABC website that makes it very easy to see these businesses or these products from other businesses that are being sold.
Mm,
So the benefit of that is it's being socialized through the email system, right? So
mm,
that's going to get anybody on the subscriber list. But additionally, it's going to hit anybody who's tire kicking or just checking out the website, not even in the funnel. They're going to be able to see this resource center. And we've had situations where you could see a 20% profit bump just from having that,
mm,
number one. And then number two, socializing it properly, right? So those relationships that are built with the customers, we want that to constantly be reinforced. You send your email salutation, P.S. If you're interested in any products to satisfy the journey that you're on, please don't hesitate to check out a resource
mm.
center or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm, as you're talking, I'm thinking of a company called Woodpeckers, Um, and they are a US company. They manufacture woodworking tools. And what they do, which I think is quite interesting, similar to what you talk about, is they have their sort of main catalog of products. And then they have products which are only going to be there for a limited time. They're kind of like they're experimenting with different things. It's like they've done your email, figured out what some of the customers want, and they've done a limited run of those products, and you can buy them for a limited time. And you know that actually this is not going to be a main product. This is just a I don't know what they call it, but like a playground type thing, a sandbox type, where they're
Yeah.
putting stuff out there and you can trial it and you can buy it and see what you think. And then when a product does really well, they'll probably put it in there a second time 6 months later. And then if it does well again, I think it becomes part of their main product category list. And as you're talking, I'm thinking actually that I wonder if that's how they do it. It strikes me as a remarkably simple idea
Yeah.
that I think we can exploit.
I think that you nailed it earlier when you said that the concept is very simple, and it really is. I mean, the mechanics can get a little bit dicey in terms of how to frame it and execute it and implement it, but the concept makes so much sense. It's like,
Yeah.
well, we know for a fact. Like I don't have to research this. I know for a fact that every customer that we're going to talk about is going other places to buy stuff. Right?
Yeah.
We know that for an absolute fact. And we have the ability to tap into those revenue streams. Why would we not want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Super clever.
you're gonna have so many business owners that are gonna spend so much time and so much money chasing these new customers and conversion and all that, and that's all fine. But so many businesses just overlook that huge value that exists with their existing customers. And
Yeah.
the statistics show that it's so much more cost effective and so much more profitable just going back to the trough, because you've already built that trust. You've already got them to say yes once. It's a lot easier to say yes multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it all works from the trust that we've built up with the customer, doesn't it? Oh, you've done this. We trust you. You're doing this. Therefore, okay, it's not like I'm starting a toothbrush brand from scratch, and I've gone out, I've gone and got the thing manufactured. I've got a toothbrush brand and I'm trying to build it over there, which will be a nightmare. I'm actually taking a company that's already manufactured it. So I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about stock because that's their problem. I just market it to the list and the customer gets it. And hopefully if I've done my job and found a good bamboo toothbrush, everyone's happy, right?
It's true, and you look at the amount of profit that can be made with that. Like, whatever profit margin somebody's making, let's just say it's 20 or 30% on their main product or service. Well, you're going to be approaching 100%, with these. So our big thing is that if we work with the right company, we're going to increase their year one profits 40 to 70%. It's pretty easy to do that, right? As long as you have a relatively decent sized list and a decent sized relationship with your customers. When you're introducing near 100% profit products and services, it adds up really quickly.
Yeah. What do you mean when you say decent sized list?
Well, I mean, it's all relative, because if it's, let's say if it's like a SaaS company with a expensive price point, like their list is going to be a lot smaller than if it's a D2C straight e-com. But decent sized list, like, because we're not going to get 100% of people that are going to buy a new product or service, right? We're going to get a certain percentage. And everybody's always asking me, well, what's that percentage? What's that going to be? And I'm like, well, you tell me. I mean, how solid is your relationship with your customers? Like, are you managing it? Because you can have 100,000 person list. When's the last time you emailed them? How many people have bought? How often do you email them? That sort of thing. So there's so many question marks in terms of kind of what ultimate conversion will be. But the big tips for success, I would say, is like decent sized list, subject to interpretation, relatively good relationship with them.
Hmm.
Those are the big ones. And then finding the right products and services that they're actually interested in,
Yeah.
doing the research, whether it's asking them or, oftentimes the business owners will suggest, who to reach out to. I have a new client. He provided me a top 100 list of people he wanted to work with. I'm like, wow, you did
Well, thanks very much.
great, right? So most of the time, the business owner has an idea on what
Yeah.
their people are actually doing. But few think of creating those relationships. They look at them as a competitor. And for every competitor, there's probably 10 other people who are non-competitive that could be
Mhm.
working together.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it will come. I've already got 3 or 4 different companies in my head who I'm just going to call an approach on this whole thing, on this whole idea.
There you go.
Um, yeah, absolutely. So the customer success roadmap, then you've understood what the customer is what the customer is buying before their transaction on your website. You're understanding what else they're buying during the transaction and understanding what they're going to buy afterwards. You're doing that through the emails. You're doing the research. You're looking at Amazon to see customers who bought this also bought ... all those kind of things, aren't you? Really, you're looking at those kind of ideas. Is there anything else that we need to think about with this success roadmap, or is that the predominant thing that we should focus on?
That's the predominant thing, just really getting in the heads of the customer. And it's not hard. I mean, you could do some hard research and ask them. And to your point, that Amazon feature is like back in the day, that would have been a lot of money to get that sort of research. But you can just
Yeah,
go out and be like, whoa, if I look at this, I'm also going to look at that. And
yeah.
people who have looked at this ended up buying this instead. Like tremendous value.
Mm.
So that's essentially it, right? Just getting in the head of the customer, and it's not hard to do. It's the concept is really simple. The mechanics can get you, and in a lot of cases, strategic alliances that people have tried have kind of fallen off unsuccessfully just because the mechanics and the intricacies of it
Hmm.
is can get you.
Well, that was
But
actually my next question. Why would this not work? As in, what are some of the pitfalls I need to avoid? So, you've mentioned mechanics.
yeah,
Could you put a bit more flesh on that? Into what
of
do you mean
course.
when you say mechanics?
Yeah. So one of the biggest problems that people run into with the strategic alliance is they say, okay, so we have complementary products and services. So we got company A, company B. Hey, you want to do a strategic alliance? Yes, I do. And then you say, okay, so who's going to go first? Who's going to mail first?
Hmm.
Right? Everybody wants to go first, right? Or be the person that's going to get the money versus the revenue share. The way we do it, we kind of step back from that and we say, okay, so we're going to focus on a company that has a distribution. We say company A. Company B is going to be the company that has the solid product or service that converts,
Hmm.
right? It's got to be a good partnership. But we're basically looking at plugging in company B into company A's list, right? So we're not looking at reciprocity. Like you
Right.
mail to mine, I'll mail to yours. You take that component away, and that solves probably 80% of the mechanical issues that you
Okay.
get. Because there's usually going to be a disparity in terms of list size and list
Mm.
quality and all that. So that doesn't mean that ultimately we cannot, go both ways, but we don't enter the relationship with the idea that it's going to be reciprocal right out of the gate.
And actually, that disarms the person that you're wanting to talk to in so many ways, isn't it? Really, it's like, well, no, I don't need anything from you. I just want to make sure that we can do this, and I'm going to email my list, and you're going to sell your products, and then if this works, we can then talk about, or if you want to do it to your list, fine, we'll talk about that later. But that's not essential for this relationship. I think you've made it
Yeah.
really easy to enter it, right?
Yeah. Disarming is a very good word to cover it for sure. The pitch to the company that has the big list is, hey, we can help you monetize something that you already have and monetize it better with really zero or very, very little effort on your part, right? We're going to do all the work. We're going to take our fee out of the additional profits that we bring in. You're just going to get a check. Now, so that's the pitch to the company that has the distribution. Now, the company that has a product or service, the pitch is, hey, I have a client that has 100,000 customers that may be interested in your product. Are you interested in having a phone call? Like, how many people are going to be like, yeah, no, I'm not interested in 100,000 possible customers that's going to be, laid it right in front of me. So that's a pretty easy conversation.
Yeah, no, I like that. It does make it straightforward. But so you say that one simple thing takes care of 80% of the problems that are going to come up.
It does, and other things are, picking the right products and services, introducing it properly, like not coming across as a spammer, right? So you don't want to build that relationship up and then spam your people, right?
Yeah.
So we really kind of want to slow the roll, be like, yeah, you can make a lot of extra money through this process, but you have to manage it. And it really should be like once a month, once every 3 weeks type of thing. And then maybe there's a follow-up or two, in there. But it should not be like a constant thing. We suggest that people introduce it, like it's going to be like a product of the month or, a special offering or something like that. Just be really, really frank about it. I mean, if you've done the research and you've sent that out to them through email, like what you're trying to do, the follow-up can be, hey, we heard you, and we're going to be introducing things periodically that we know that you're going to be interested in. We hope you find value in it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's cool. And I think, again, depending on, I'm just thinking about some of the companies that we do. If we positioned it in such a way that, hey, listen, we've got this product of the month. It's from another company. It doesn't have our brand on it. At least at the moment, it doesn't have our brand on it. Because one, we know you love it. And two, we know you're going to really like this company. And we, a rising tide floats all boats kind of thing, doesn't it? And so I think if we pitched it something like that to customers, I think they go, oh, this is cool. I understand why you're doing it. And I think that could work really, really well.
Yeah, I agree. And, we've been spending a bit of time kind of talking about more or less like the starting point is finding that company that has the big list. And I mean, from my perspective, you're trying to prospect. Those are the people that I would ultimately like to start with all the time, because it's a much easier sell to go to a product or service and say, I've got 100,000 prospective customers of yours. You want to have a call. But there could be a lot of listeners to this podcast that are like, hey, I don't have a big list, but I have a high quality product that converts well. So where does that leave me? Like, am I just waiting for, this company to come knock it? Like, we can be more proactive with that. So if you're a high quality product or service that converts well, that can scale, then what we can do, like I can take them on, and then we go and try to find the bigger company that has the distribution. And but as a starting point, we need to know, like, how is it going to convert, right? Yeah. So it can't be like brand new product, unproven, seems cool, but I don't know if it's going to sell. Yeah. That's not going to resonate with somebody that has the distribution. But for the right company, like, it's one of the best ways that I know of to scale quickly, just to take a business into the stratosphere, because what you're really doing is identifying a company that spent, in some cases, millions of dollars to find your exact target client. And all we're looking to do is just plug them in. And if they can get plugged in, then their subscriber list is going to explode. Their sales are going to explode. Like a lot of great things are going to happen. You have to make sure you're ready for it. I think the big thing is, can you scale, right? If you were to increase your sales by 3,000% in 1 month, can you do that?
Yeah.
Or does it have to be more measured, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, great. It's a great point, actually, Scott, that you can do this both ways. You can be the guy with the big list and you go find the product, or you can be the guy with the product and go find the company with the big list. And I think
Exactly.
either way, you're looking for that strategic alliance to grow. One of the things which is interesting, and this is why I think that I like your strategy and why I think it's successful, is you're leveraging another company on what your customer wants. So one of the tools that we all have as business people, I suppose, is if I'm turning over $1 million a year and I want to get to 2 million, well, one of the easiest things I can do is go buy another company that turns over $1 million a year. I can do is growth by acquisition,
Sure.
right? And what you're doing with these strategic alliances is you're kind of doing that without actually buying that company. You're tapping into that product or that database without going through the expense of buying that company to grow your product. And I think that sounds quite compelling in so many ways. You talk about monetizing subscriber lists. Is this what you mean then? So I have my subscribers. I'm going to add this sort of 40 to 70% extra income because I am now upselling or cross-selling products which I don't currently sell to my database because they've told me they want them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So really just taking an existing asset. In a lot of cases, it's the most valuable asset that a business owns. And I think a lot of people forget that on the financials under goodwill, like that relationship that's been built is valued in there.
Yeah.
There's a dollar value that's put on that. And when a business sells, like that's a significant thing.
Yeah.
You cannot fake that time and expense that it's taken to build that relationship. So it's really just a matter of monetizing what you already have in a smart way and not spamming them.
Yeah, fantastic. Scott, listen, I thank you so much for that strategy, man. I feel like I've picked your brains quite comprehensively. I'm aware of time. So before we go to the next phase, I suppose, of the podcast, I want to just take a few seconds and say, do you have a question for me? This is where I ask you for a question. I'm going to answer on social media. I don't answer on the podcast. It's my crafty way of building up the social media following. So if you want to know my answer to the question, you got to follow me at Matt Edmondson across the social media platforms where I'll post the answer. But Scott, what's your question for me?
My question for you is, I understand that you're an active player of Catan, and I want to know your best tip or trick for winning.
Okay, this is a great question. And are we just talking the regular Catan board, or are we talking cities and nights? What are we talking?
Regular. Let's keep it simple. I've got a simple brain. We'll stay simple.
Okay. Do you play yourself? Are you a Cataner?
I don't. I will tell you that I went to Target this past weekend to go buy a board game. Almost came home with Catan, and I came home with something else because I've got some young teenagers, and we're starting them out slowly, but we are gatewaying into Catan. So,
well, let me tell you,
for success.
Yeah. Well, Catan is. We started our kids on Catan when they were like 7 or 8. So, so yeah, it's a good game. It's a really good game. And well worth doing. I am a very big fan, but I'm looking forward to answering that question. That's one of my favorite questions so far. Scott, listen, how do people reach you? How do they connect with you? If they want to get you involved in helping set up a strategic allowance, what's the best way to do this?
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity to be on today, Matt. I really appreciate it. 2 ways to reach me. You can go to my website, which is seacoastcg.com, short for a consulting group, seacoastcg.com. I'm also very active on LinkedIn under Scott D. Overbeck. There's a link to my calendar. You can, I've got an open profile. You can reach out to me. But we do offer a free sales growth analysis session that really just kind of is an understanding of what your business is looking like, whether you're the distribution or the great product or service that converts. And we talk about if there's a fit. Our fees are almost always just baked into the additional profits that we make. So there's really no barrier to entry for anybody, regardless of size.
Fantastic. And do you work transatlantic or is it just stateside?
I am primarily stateside, but I am open to all.
Fantastic.
E-commerce is everywhere. So
That's very true. That is very true. We're a UK company, but I think 30-40% of our trade or our sales come from international markets. Mainly, well, quite a big portion comes actually from the States. So yeah, it's interesting, the world of e-commerce, how
sure.
Everyone's buying from our website 24/7 around the world. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Scott, listen, great to meet you, buddy. And thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your insight. Genuinely loved it. I've got some good ideas for my own e-com business, which I'm going to outright steal. So thanks for coming on the show, man. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too.
Wonderful. Wow, what a great conversation with Scott that was. Of course, we will link to Scott's info in the show notes, which you can see just by scrolling down on your podcast app if you're on a mobile device. Of course, they're also going to be on the website at ecommercepodcast.com. Give you the wrong web address, ecommercepodcast.net. I wasn't able to buy ecommercepodcast.com. It's gone. I do own ecommerce-podcast.com if you're interested. Anyway, you can go to the website. You can get all of Scott's links. You can get the show notes and the transcript and all of that sort of good stuff. Of course, if you are signed up to our email newsletter, if you're on our email list for the e-commerce podcast, then those notes will be winging their way to your inbox. You may get an email from me at some point going, "Dear e-commerce podcast, what e-commerce stuff do you buy?" Maybe. I'm just saying. If that comes, you'll know why. Anyway, be sure to follow the e-commerce podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got some more great conversations lined up, and I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, let me be the first. You are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Scott's got to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. Now, the e-commerce podcast is produced by PodJunction. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is Sadaf Bainman and Jonah Prisk. Our theme music was written by Josh Edmondson. And as I mentioned, if you would like to read the transcript or show notes, the website, ecommercepodcast.net. I'll give you the right one this time. But that's it from me. That's it from Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.